what is your page about, and why do people find it so interesting?
Mhm. Well, yeah, my name's Frank, and um, yeah, I my page Frank95 on Instagram. Uh, People have been following me for a while. I started in 2020, uh, after doing like the carnivore diet, all meat diet thing for oh wow, like about a year and a half. I just started try to get into social media finally, just show what I was doing, and I I tried a lot of things, and I like to experiment, do things within the whole carnivore realm, animal-based realm, and now for a while I've just been to the whole raw meat thing, and it's been great. It's been fun, and I love it a lot. And I that's somehow some reason gained a lot of followers, and people love to see other people eat raw meat for whatever reason. But I mean, I just love eating it, and it makes me feel great, and people love to see that and pitch in, and so it's a fun little thing.
I guess the difference is though, obviously you have people that eat raw meat. I've seen people eat, like, I mean, your page, when I came across your page, it was a different level. Because obviously raw meat, because I did an interview with him before, and all the stuff he gets is from his butcher. I've seen the videos, he gets it from his butcher. Then I go on your page and I thought it would be the same thing. And then I see like the owl in the river. I was like, what? That stuff blew my, like, what? You said you started off with a carnivore diet. I'm guessing it was cooked first, right?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. That's just what you know to do, so you do it. Yeah.
But how did they go from that to where you are now? Because it's a big, it's a huge jump. You got to admit, it's a big jump.
Wow, that's an interesting question. Like when I started carnivore, that was about fall of 2018. And I knew going into it, I wasn't going to do what everyone else was doing. I just knew it. That's just how I am. The biggest thing I just wanted to do was to eat organs, eat high quality grass fed meat. Um, and so eating nose to tail right off the bat, just that's just what I did. And then gradually over, oh, okay, in 2019, spring of 2019 is when I just you're constantly learning new things, researching, and like a lot of people, I've found endogenous raw inner planets, raw primal thing. Um, that's kind of crazy. And I took some things from him, and also like the Weston A. Price Foundation. They'll talk about how indigenous cultures always ate at least some of their animal products raw, mostly like organs and obviously raw milk. Um, and so yeah, in 2019, I've experimented that a lot, but 2020 and 2021 is mostly cooked with some amounts of raw meat. But yeah, by the end of 2021, I was like, I'm just craving raw meat, and that's almost exclusively what all I ate last year in 2022 up to now. Um, it's just lighter in my stomach, it digests better, it feels a lot better, and it's just easier to live this way.
I
So.
mean, was it not scary at first though? Like obviously the raw meat side on its own is scary. Like a lot of people want to try it, but they're too worried to try it because there's a lot of the horror stories about that sort of thing. But then go from raw meat that you get from a butcher to raw meat that's wild. I mean, was that must have been intimidating? Well, both sides of that must have been intimidating.
It really was. Like obviously raw meat to begin with, like my first time eating high liver, fermented liver a few years ago, I was just like, I'm gonna die. But you get a shot, you feel great. Eating raw chicken for the first time, like from natural, great quality local chicken you can get, and like that's scary. And then as you just get used to doing that, just local high quality raw meats from there, and then like hunters give you deer, and like okay, it just feels good. And then all of a sudden you just find dead animals side of the road or in a stream, and I was nervous about the owl for sure. That's why I talked a lot in that post, and I didn't eat a lot. I was definitely nervous about it, but I always leave pleasantly surprised. It's always great, and I feel great. Um, and I do. I'm not 100% confident all the time when I do it. Yeah, like yeah, it sounds cool. Like humans have a gut pH of like 1.2 to 1.5, like kind of like a, a vulture, and we can just eat whatever we want because our stomach is so acidic and destroys everything. But I'm not 100% convinced on that. So I mean, I just curious, and I just kind of go with it and see what happens. So far, so good.
I mean, it leads
So
you on to the thing about asking, have you actually ever got ill from it? I mean, you probably, I don't know if I've never seen a post about you talking if you've got ill. Maybe you have got one on there, but have you? I mean, you never know. You never know.
yeah, yeah, it's so funny. The only time I've gotten sick from eating these past like 4 or 5 years of like eating like pretty much only like meat in general, raw cooked, um, was from drinking raw goat's blood. Um, I slaughtered goats for the first time almost 3 years ago now. And one day after work, I drank like a mason jar, a little bit of it, quite honestly, of goat's blood. And I mean, that's nothing crazy. People do it all over the place, I guess. And I did it around 5 p.m. and at midnight, I wake up, I'm just throwing up terribly. Um, it was just so bad. And yeah, it's just that goat's blood it got to me. And also last spring, I actually did I cooked a little bit of goat as well, like a spine of a goat, and just to make stock, just to like try it and like sure whatever. It's not raw, but whatever. And I felt terrible. I couldn't eat for like 2 days, just terribly sick. I didn't throw up, but I I think my body just doesn't like goats.
I was gonna say, it's both good. Yeah.
Other than that, nothing wrong from wild animals. Like I haven't gotten sick from eating beavers, deer, wild birds, like nothing like that, which is pretty cool. Um, it definitely defies a lot of odds that you think like food poisoning, mad cow disease, something like that. But no, pretty good so far.
I mean, do you think maybe it's the way you ease yourself into it, or would you say you genuinely think it's the things about the stomach? Because then obviously you didn't just go straight away into that. You've slowly eased into it.
Yeah, I do think that's a good question. And I would have to say, yeah, I think easing into it, sure. Like whatever you have to do to make sure that your gut has is healthy and strong. I think if you have a healthy and strong gut, like if you're healthy and strong yourself, you, you should be able to handle a lot more foods, like raw foods, like I'm talking about. Um, and yeah, maybe I'm wrong, and like maybe like a lot of people's guts these days, they just aren't as acidic as maybe our ancestors, and uh, that's something that they can work up to, like just by building that acidity. I actually don't know. Um, but I feel like a lot of people that I know just in my personal life, if they were to try a lot of these foods that I've tried, they I don't think that they would get sick, but I think that they just would not like it as much as me. So yeah.
Hmm. I've also seen obviously not all of the animals you. Well, I'm guessing most animals you're eating were dead, but that crab was alive, so that counts as a living animal. Have you had anything else that was living? Because that does count as a living animal. That thing was moving.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like mainly, yeah. Oh, I mean, I've had insects. I don't know if you saw, like I've had quite a few maggots and crickets and grasshoppers. I think I've eaten minnows raw a long time ago, like before all this. And yeah, mainly insects. And I don't eat a bunch of insects. They're kind of lame. Uh, they're not going to save the planet. They're just not. And uh, yeah, it's while eating live wild animals, I haven't thought too much about that. So we'll see.
Oh, really? We'll see about that. Is that something you actually thought
I'll
about?
get
Well, yeah, well, you haven't thought
I'll
about,
get
but that's
creative.
something. Yeah. Well, the maggots. You said I remember. I can't remember what the post was about that, but you said there's some sort of nutritional value to them in some way. I can't remember what it was, but it was in your caption.
Yes. Well, maggots in the past have been used for medicinal purposes. As crazy as that sounds, I think for oh man, I think for digestive reasons. I completely forget, but I think that the hope is by eating maggots. Obviously, like all they eat is carrion and dead animals. Like they have to have like some serious enzymes and acidity in them or something. And so it's just like by eating them, you're just kind of eating something that can like that has the power to really break down and decompose like putrid flesh. So like the hope is the goal is like you eat some of those maggots, it's just like a great pre-digestive enzyme or something. Uh that's not a whole like widely known, believed concept, but that's just what I've read. So
What's the
you
thing
know,
you've had? Well, maggots are quite weird, but on that same topic, what is the thing you've had that you didn't want to eat the most? You were looking at it and you were like, the curiosity took over, but you weren't sure.
oh wow. Okay. Here's a funny one. With that's about 3 years. Yeah, it was about 3 years ago now. April of 2020. I had this jar. It wasn't even that old, but it was high heart, so fermented beef heart. Um, and it smelled so bad. It wasn't like fermented liver at all. And maybe I did something wrong, and I it smelled terrible, and I forced myself to eat a good bit of it, and like it. Oh, okay. I guess this was another sickness thing. My bad, forgot. Yeah, to be completely honest, I ate it a good bit of it, and yeah, for like all night, I was just constant diarrhea for like 10 hours. It flushed me out. Um, so it felt good in the end, but yeah, I would never do it again. It just wasn't worth it. So yeah, that was a big hesitating thing because it smelled terrible. It was foaming and oh, it was yeah,
Is it not meant
that
to
was
smell
bad.
bad? If it's fermented, does it usually smell? How does it usually smell?
Uh, yeah, like fermented beef liver. So beef liver is interesting because it has a good amount of sugar in it, which can ferment easier. Um, like the glycogen stored in liver. And so it could ferment better than like muscle meats, which just have less sugar in them. Uh, and so like the muscle meats, they'll just like smell it and oh, they're just putrid, terrible, terrible. But like the liver itself, to me, by this point, it kind of tastes like candy. It doesn't smell all that bad. It has like some sort of funny scent to it, but overall, it's not that bad.
I
So
know. I remember Romix talking about it at one point. He was saying you do. It's called like obviously high liver or whatever. It does kind of give you a, not like necessarily a high, but it does do something along those lines.
yeah, yeah, I think it's great. It's so funny because when you read the stories, like the Inuit getting like all these crazy euphoria feelings from eating these high meats. I mean, they go pretty extreme with their fermented meats, so maybe they do feel like a great buzz from it. But I guess in my opinion, like I do like the high liver because it feels like a tonic effect when you eat that fermented liver. It just like revs the body up. It makes you feel lighter and like focus and like it it's a good thing to eat before you're going to eat even more food in general because it's like a pre-digestive enzyme again and but also it really just kind of revs your stomach up, your digestive system up, and like the whole gut brain axis. So you're making your gut smile, you're getting your gut high, which gets your brain kind of lit up, and you do feel good. Nothing like super loopy and like hippie and crazy or anything, but you do feel good.
That's probably a really scary concept for like anyone who watches this and they have no idea what it is. It's probably they're probably so confused at hearing fermented meat in a jar. But I mean, I remember some of the details about it where it was like the bacteria, it's like good bacteria, and obviously, like you're saying, it helps your digestion and stuff like that. But it must be. I mean, the first time you had that again, that must have been another really scary thing. Like you were saying, it's just moldy, isn't it? It's fermented.
Yeah, yeah, it's super strange to see like the phases it goes through over like the months that you fermented, and like the first week or so, I feel like of the fermenting process, you'll see like bubbles, like just start bubbling, and like when you open the jar, it'll hiss. I've had jars before like that actually exploded from pressure. From it's kind of a lot has done that, but it has happened to me. And but no, like you'll see like white mold on it, and it looks crazy and scary. Outside the jar, it looks just like it's going to kill you. But when you open it, you see like it's kind of a layer of mold. If you really wanted to, you could scrape it off. That's what I've seen. It's kind of just like floats on there. Uh, and yeah, it's fun because every it's almost different with every jar. Like when you see bubbles, if you see mold, that just dictates like how long you open it, leave it open for, how often you open it. So it's kind of like a fun something new every time experiment.
It's almost like trying to
So
make alcohol,
yeah,
but with meat, really. It's almost like the same sort of thing. Fermenting it. You have
yeah,
to
yeah,
watch it
exactly.
carefully.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what's been your favorite thing so far, though? Because we've said the scariest thing. What about the favorite thing? 'Cause, I mean, you seem to enjoy most of the things you eat, but what's
Most things. Yeah, for sure. I've noticed wild animals or just animals that I kill myself are always better than like meat you get in the store, even if it's grass fed, local, straight from the farm. Uh, anything that lived outside is always and like not packaged in plastic, cleaned by someone else is always 100% better. But with that being said, I wanted to say like any wild meat is always better than domesticated meat, like period. And I really hate to say it, but that owl was the best meat I've ever had.
I had that in my head.
Uh,
I was gonna say that. I knew that was gonna be some things. I remember how shocked you were.
I was very shocked because it's just, I'm pretty sure that was illegal.
Yeah, I think
to do
so.
that
I think it was.
in America and probably elsewhere, I guess, like birds of prey or like cool birds like that, they just have their own special laws and like tampering with them, you just can't do that. And I mean, obviously, if I kill that owl, I would probably go to jail. Um, I would assume, but you're not allowed to keep skulls or feathers, claws or anything. If you'll get like fine or a big trouble if someone got caught like that. And but anyways, yeah, I didn't know how it died. It was super weird to see an owl like face planted into a stream. Like it's okay if it was on the side of the road because like oh, it just got hit by a car. But to see a wild animal dead in nature like that was super weird to me. But I ate it anyways, and it was like going into it, I was like, I really shouldn't be doing this for many reasons. But and then once I ate it, I was like, well, damn it, this is the best meat I've ever had.
It was red meat though for
Then
a bird as well.
yeah, I was like, wow, it was very light. It was kind of almost like tuna without like a fishy taste. It was like light and meaty at the same time. It was wild, and I just couldn't believe how good it was. And I was kind of like disappointed because I was like, I wish this was going to be bad, but because it's an owl and you shouldn't be doing this. Um, and so I didn't eat much of it because I was like, just stop. And I I could eat owl every day,
Were you
quite
worried
honestly.
posting it?
What was that?
Were you worried posting the video? Because you say obviously there's the laws, and I saw a lot of comments of people going, "I don't think you're supposed to do that." Were you worried
Yeah, yeah,
posting it, or were you...
not really. Like whatever happens, happens. Like this just in my gut, in my, I just felt like let me just get it out there, and that's why I wrote that caption, that description, like don't do this, please. I don't know if this is right, but I'm doing it anyways, just to show, like, hey, uh, I did it or something. I don't know. And that yeah, if I got caught, lesson learned for a lot of people. Like, don't eat owls, you'll get in trouble. In case someone watching wanted to eat an owl, you know, we're wondering if they would get in trouble. Well, if I got in trouble, then they would get in trouble. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Fun
mean,
logic.
they protected in all countries, or is it in the US? I don't know much about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know much about like the laws or like where owls are from and all that. But yeah, I just know here it's a big deal. So people love them.
And someone said
Yeah.
something about not thanking the album, kind of like showing it respect afterwards. I don't know what they meant by that in the comment section. I saw that. A few people said that actually, I think.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, I got a few DMs and messages like, "Hey," they were really nice about like, this might be illegal. Just be careful. I like you. Good job, but just be careful. Like, thank you for saying that. But yeah, it was kind of interesting. Like, people just really thought that was cool for some reason. And I was like, I guess that was cool. I didn't eat a whole lot, and I just kept talking, was freaking out. Um, but I'm happy you thought it was cool. Uh, I don't advocate for it, but thank you at the same time. So I just kind of went with it. Yeah.
The roadkill was another one as well. That's the one. That's the first one I saw that's the first thing I saw that totally separated your page from everything else. That first one was the roadkill one. That one, I mean, I was thinking surely you'd be worried about like the tires that went over it or all sorts of stuff because it was all mashed up.
Are you talking about the beaver?
Yeah, the road literally it was flat. It was absolutely
That
flat.
was that was one of the coolest things I ever came across because I was just like, yeah, there was nothing left of that beaver, like no bones or anything. It was just flattened. Who knows how long it has been there? And then I was just looking at the tail. I was like, but the tail is perfect. As the tail is already flat, and there was like a little bit of a cut in it, but nothing crazy. And I was like, this is incredible. It's just like like how they say bone marrow made us human because the vultures, the predators or whatever, they would eat away at the meat and they couldn't access through the bones. I'm like, these cars couldn't get through the tail, so I'm eating it. And it just happened so suddenly. I was just walking and I saw it. And I'm like, that is so cool. And I was really excited to eat that. Like zero hesitancy at all. I was like, I'm very excited for this opportunity.
See, that's the jump you've made because now it's to the point. I think that would be something when you first started. That would be one of the most things, something you hesitate on the most. You hit the point
Mm.
now where you see that and you don't hesitate. You think that's so cool and you want to try it straight away. Something was hit by a car. I mean, that's crazy, but it's so cool that you've got to that point now. You don't even have to think about it. You know what you can handle, what you can't handle. You assume at least. Which I mean,
Mm.
that's a big jump, isn't it? From where you started to now.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my God, it's super funny. Just starting raw meat and whatnot, like being timid, like make sure it's always like straight out of the fridge. Make sure you buy meat, it goes straight in the fridge. Like I don't even refrigerate meat anymore. I put it in my backpack. It'll stay there for days until I eat it. Like I just don't care. I just don't even think about it. And yeah, I don't really care where I store it. As long as I too putrid or whatever, like tastes just terrible. I just keep things outside, uh, in my bags or whatever, and for days until I eat it. And, I mean, it's pretty cool here. The temperature is right now, um, where I can get away with it. Summer's gonna be interesting. Um, and yeah, it's just like I feel so much more comfortable and like eating like a whole like lamb just raw without thinking about it. Like to me, that's just normal. And
I
like I
mean,
just
yeah.
got to the point where I just forget that like, oh wait, I should be afraid of bacteria or whatever. And like that's not like to hate on anyone, of course, but like that's just what you're kind of led to believe. And maybe rightfully so, but at the same time, like I just have zero fear. Like when I kill a lamb, I'm eating it all the raw. Like it nothing really phases me in that. So
I
yeah.
mean, one bit just before we carry on. So the next thing I'm going to ask you about is just the craziest stuff. So we covered a lot, but I'm sure you've got more. But one thing you mentioned earlier is about killing the animals yourself. That we haven't covered that. I didn't know you did that, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, I have a few posts back. Uh, I started that in 2020 once I moved to Vermont, actually, up here. And yeah, you just Vermont's pretty cool because you got a lot of homesteaders with like goats and sheep and whatnot. So I killed a few goats and sheep in 2020. I didn't at all in 2021. That's a long story. But I still all I ate was meat. And then in 2022 and now, whenever I can, so like once, twice a month, I'll go to this guy's farm and I'll kill a sheep with a knife. I don't use guns. I prefer using a knife. And this is spoiler alert. This will be a post coming soon. I'm determined, and this might get me in trouble, quite honestly, on Instagram. But I want to present it in a non-troubling way. But I kill sheep with a knife by like cutting their throat. And it looks pretty graphic at first. But I'm very confident with it now, and it's really fast. It's a very traditional way of killing animals, and that's what I like about it. I'm not a fan of using the guns, just blasting the brains out. I want to eat the brains first of all, and I like that connection piece where I literally just grab the sheep, I put it on its side, I'm holding it the whole time, and I just like straight right through the throat. I collect the blood, I drink the blood. To me, that makes me feel great. It makes me feel primal, really connected to the animal, and that's just what I love about it. And I hope for the rest of the year, like, I don't have a car or anything, so I borrow a friend's car. And yeah, so that makes like this whole process of getting the sheep a little bit more trickier. But I do hope going forward for the rest of the year that a lot of the meat that I'm eating really is more from the animals that I kill, because it's just so important to me.
I mean, if you when I say spiritual, I mean obviously like you said, connected to the animal. That's why when you were saying that, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking when you kill something with a gun, right? There's not much meaning behind that. You just pull the trigger and it's done. With the knife, you're like you're saying, you're connected. You're physically there, and you know what you're doing. And like you say, it's more primal. You know exactly what's happening. The animal knows what's happening, and that's what like we say our ancestors did. The exact same thing. So it's understandable why you say you feel more connected. Because with a gun, there's no. It's just done and dusted, and it's too modern. I'd say it doesn't connect you to the animal, like you say. It's no, it is interesting that you say that.
Yeah, that's exactly why I do it. I do want to be, very close to my food and have it like nourish me like that. And I guess it's a spiritual way of looking at it. And the gun, like that, just and nothing wrong with people that kill animals with guns. Like if I was a butcher and like I had to kill like 10 animals in a day, I probably would use a gun for efficiency's sake. I would assume. But when I'm just killing a sheep for myself, yeah, no way. Like I'm definitely just going for the throat. I like that piece a lot. So yeah.
So when it comes on to crazier stuff, we've already covered. I think everything you've told me is crazy, but I'm sure you
Yeah.
have things in your head that you see is crazier. So I mean, what would you say
Yeah.
your craziest things?
Well, I I would say last September I was really determined. It doesn't sound too crazy, but for me it was. I was here in Vermont, so last September I biked. It was 35 miles. I forget the kilometer, transfer.
That's
I
okay, yeah.
think that you all kilometers, but anyways, it's 35 miles one way, which isn't that far for me. Like I bike a lot. But I was biking like this camping backpack, and I couldn't look up because the backpack just kept being in like my head, it was in the way. And so whenever I looked up, it pushed my helmet in front of my eyes. And so I was just kind of looking down the whole time for 35 miles. Slaughter a goat, and the goat was maybe 90 pounds live. Obviously, when you butcher it, it's not 90 pounds really, of course. And but yeah, I rode my bike 35 miles. It took me about like 3 hours because I just stopped and go a lot. And yeah, threw the goat in my backpack, the whole goat. I mean, I butchered it, but I threw the whole goat in my backpack, and then I biked back to my house. And I mean, I got lost a whole bunch, and the whole weight of it was just pressing on my lower back. It was terrible weight distribution, and up and down hills, and I was just alone on these roads with no shoulders on it. That was no, it's pain. That was really painful, a lot, for sure. And so that for me, like that was physically crazy. Um, that was a crazy experience for sure.
You felt
So
rewarding though. You
yeah,
get back after all that, and you've just it's almost like you've like primal thing. You've worked for your food, you've hunted your food, and you've taken it back with you. That's what they used to have to do.
That's exactly it. And that's why like that's almost like why I like still riding my bike. You know, I'm a bike commuter. I'm known for that. And like I'll ride everywhere, even to like the grocery store, and I'll get ground beef or something. Like that alone just feels primal. That's not very far away from me. But like, yeah, that experience, it made me feel like Liver King when he does those hard workouts before he eats a meal. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what he's talking about. Because I spent hours that day, like got up super early, went there, super uncomfortable. Weather was changing and physically in pain, and it was. But then, you know, I get back and devouring the goat. I'm like, oh my god, it was good. You know, until I got sick from the spine part. Like the
Yeah.
legs were good, um, but yeah, it was awesome.
Do you
Um,
think that kind of goes hand in hand with that thing people say quite a lot now that everything is too easy to get in the modern day? Like obviously, if you want food, you go to the shop around the corner, or you order it online. And obviously that has got everyone in a really lazy mindset. That's what people say, easy times, right? So with you, you're living as if we don't have these easy times, and you're actually having to work for your food, which I think that mentally that's really good for your discipline, really good for just your mindset in general, because you're having to work, and it's the dopamine release, right? It's not easy dopamine. You have to work for it.
exactly, like Jocko Willink says, like no free dopamine. Like just you have to work for it. And I love that. That's just kind of what I've been doing for a long time. Even like when I was uh vegan and vegetarian in my early 20s, and like in college I would go dumpster diving at midnight, you know, when all the health food stores were closed. I would just wake up at midnight mentally. I just no alarm clock. I just knew to like, okay, time to go. And I would go at night, like walk a mile or so, and cold, it'd be dark, sometimes snowing or raining. I was alone, and you know, sometimes the compost bins were full, sometimes they weren't. And I would steal a bunch of kale and bananas, and sometimes I wouldn't, you know, because they just didn't have anything. And so this has just been in me for a long time to like work for my food, no matter what I was eating, because I think it just tastes and feels so much better when you do that. I couldn't imagine, yeah, just going like McDonald's, fast food restaurants, like something like that. That I don't know the last time I did that, and or ordering food, like no judgment at all, but that's just not me. So, you know,
I mean, Zoom says we're running out of time. Apparently, we have 5 minutes 30. I didn't know about that, but I still want to talk to you about diet wise. Obviously, the reason you do the carnivore diet. You used to be a vegetarian, so you've tried all the different things. What would you say? People, what you said about bacteria, you don't know if it's fair that people should believe that that is a danger or not. I know you probably don't think it is as much of a danger as people do say. What do you think
yeah.
people are getting wrong, in your opinion, with diets in the modern day? With what the government tells you? Because I know the government now say Lucky Charms are more healthy than red meat.
Yeah, yeah. Um, that's interesting. Yeah, like it's just kind of the usual, probably what you and I are seeing a lot of. Just like meat's good for you, like meat is good for you. You know, embrace saturated fat and cholesterol. And like I'm on team bacteria is good for you, team uh, raw meat, raw milk, or whatever, if you're into that. And yeah, I think that, you know, germ terrain theory stuff, and um, I think that's, you know, we're getting wrong, like salmonella, E. coli, like that's in our bodies already, and you just have to not be weak. If you're weak, like you'll get sick. Um, you know, I think that you ask anyone who knows me in my personal life, like how many times they've seen me sick, and this just it doesn't happen. So embrace the bacteria. Like I don't know, I'm not 100% confident with all of it. I'm not gonna act like I am, but you know, I'm just gonna keep doing this, and you know, I'm happy that people are learning from me. You know, getting something from it that makes me feel good. And if I get sick, good. Um, now you know.
I mean,
um,
it would have happened already, you think?
oh, for sure. Like I should be dead from like scurvy or food poisoning. Like Yeah, from scurvy, from lack of vitamin C, or like a heart attack. Um, and I actually had like mad cow disease and like trichinosis, just all this terrible stuff. Like should happen to me instantly from like a bite of raw meat. Like they just mass hysteria over doing like a little bit with what I do, and like it's what I do every day, and I don't even think twice about it anymore. Um, so I would love to see more people eat, just embrace bacteria, raw meat, or like bacteria even as a whole, like not even within raw meat, but just in life, you know, environment. Get outside, get in the dirt, work on a farm. Um, don't be a germaphobe, stuff like that. I think that would be super important to your health.
It says, well, I don't know why the time's cutting short. It says we've got 2 minutes, 40 seconds. But the last question I want to ask here is, why do you think the government are saying these things? If it's obvious that it's not as bad as they say, why do you think they're publishing Lucky Charms being better than red meat and sugars being better than eating meat? It makes no sense.
Oh, okay. That part, yeah, that's wow. Yeah, when I saw that graph, that frustrates me. I don't know why they're doing it. Like you can go down conspiracy theory route and like, oh, they're trying to keep us weak and bad and sick and all that. And quite honestly, I would not disagree with that kind of logic. That wouldn't surprise me. Like that would not surprise me at all. Um, and sometimes I do believe that. Like I really do believe like they're trying to keep us down. And because why not? Like it's just that's how they make money. It's easier to control people if they're sick and unhealthy. Like it just is. I've been there. Um, you don't have a fighting chance, and an easy way to take your money. But also realize, also too, to be fair, like the whole low fat kind of propaganda of the 70s and 80s, which was just like faulty studies that just exploded from Ansel Keys that just never left government mandates and you know, nutrition protocols, and that just kind of still resonates today, sadly. So one of those two options.
Definitely, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense. I agree. It is, and the conspiracy theory route, I probably say that is the best route to think about because there's so much. Like, the agenda gets pushed really hard that it is hard to not think that.
Yeah.
I don't know why it says we've got less than a minute. I mean, I've never had it cut the meeting short, but it is today for some reason. So we can do a part two at some point if you want to, because there's a lot more we could talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally fine to talk more, you know, another time, whenever, whatever Zoom is making us do. But I have tons of stuff in my head always. So